Good morning, folks. I'm making this video in response to a couple of members that asked what goes into my daily breakfast feed for my finches. So I'm going to make this short video, and hopefully it's of use to some of you. And I've got my little baby here who's squawking away, so just forgive me if that interrupts. So I'll take you through it. I use these plastic dishes. They're just pot plant trays from Bunnings. They're cheap and they do the job. First of all, every day my finches get soaked seed, and so I thought I might show you the procedure that I use to soak seed. It's simply a big bowl with some dry seed in there, just your normal seed mix, and then that just gets filled up with water, and I just use tap water. Now, I had some discussion with Christian the other day on Facebook. Christian uses Viacon S. A lot of guys do, and it's a good idea. Viacon S is a disinfectant. It stops bacterial and fungal growth in your soaked seed. It's particularly a risk once you've strained your seed and you're letting it sit for a couple of days, that the bacterial and fungal growth can grow in there, and that's not good for your birds. So Viacon S is a great disinfectant. It's bird safe. Some people use a bit of bleach. I just use regular tap water. I find in Queensland it doesn't take a long time to sprout your seed, so it reduces that time that the bacteria and fungi has to grow. I've only been using tap water for the last 18 months or so, and haven't had any dramas. So you let that sit now on the bench. It's fine. Just sit for about 6 to 12 hours, just full of water, and it'll go a darker colour, and the water will go like a tea coloured, and then you'll drain it out. And I do this with holding a phone at the same time. Sorry, folks. So essentially you strain it into a strainer. You tip it in, fill it back up with water. At that point you can put the Viacon S in, give it a bit of a whirl, leave it for 5 minutes, and then strain it out again. You just want clean, damp seed, and then I just leave it sitting in a strainer, and I pretty much let it sitting just in the top of a bowl like that on the kitchen bench for the next, well, in Queensland in summer, really only takes about 12 to 24 hours for them to begin to sprout. In winter it'll take a couple of days, but what the main thing is that you keep it moist. It will dry out on the top, and that seed won't sprout if it dries out. So just ask somebody who's around at home, if possible, to give it a bit of a stir like this every few hours, and that keeps it nice and moist. Occasionally you might just need to put a bit more water, another rinse, and then you just want to keep it moist. Right, so when it sprouts, you don't want big, long alfalfa sprout type things. The reason you soak and sprout seed is to germinate the seed. When germination occurs, the nutritional value of the seed is maximised. For every millimetre that sprout grows, that nutritional value decreases. So you only want the seed to just, what it's called chitting, C-H-I-T. Just when it chits, it just breaks that first millimetre of seed out, that first millimetre of sprout out. As soon as you see that, you put it in a container like this and pop it in the fridge, and that will arrest the development. So this is some that, where are you? Can't really. No, you have to take my word for it. Anyway, this is soaked seed, and it'll keep in the fridge for a week or so. So only do up a week's batch at a time, and always do the smell test, because it should have a nice earthy, seedy smell, and if it doesn't, if it smells off, turf it and start again. Alright, so that's soaked seed. So that's the first thing that goes on my plate. So depending on how many birds I've got in the aviary, I've got mixed aviaries, so it's not specifically a Gouldian aviary or anything in particular. It's a mixed aviary, so I'll put enough of soaked seed for each bird. So you could probably work on the basis of about a heaped teaspoon, I suppose, for each bird. The next thing that goes into my dish is a couple of products I get from Australian wildlife supplies. The first one is a greens and grains mix. So that's just a mixture of sort of wild grasses. There's some linseed in there and a little bit of niger. I see some panic, a little bit of panicum. Anyway, so I'll just get, it's a dry mix, but it gets them some of those wild seeds that they don't get anywhere else. And then this one is a tonic seed. So this is similar, but it's got some more. It's got some lettuce seed. I think some phalaris in there. So it's, again, just a bit of variety. That's a tonic seed mix. Both products are from Australian wildlife suppliers in Springwood or Underwood in Brisbane. I'm pretty sure they ship. They're, Serena and the guys there are excellent. And if you're in Queensland or in southeast Queensland in Brisbane, they set up a store at the monthly Queensland Finch Society meetings. It's the first Friday of every month from about 7 p.m. They're there with a pop-up stand. They got a huge variety of finch keeping seeds and products. So the next thing that goes on the plate for the aviaries in which I have live feeders. Live food is essential for some of the varieties of finch to breed. They just won't rear their young without it. They may nest, they may lay the eggs, they might even sit on the eggs and hatch them, but they often won't fledge the young. They'll kick them out or leave them in the nest to die if they don't have live food. So the live food that I use is termites. Termites scare the bejesus out of some people, but I have a method where I'll collect a mound about once a month that will serve me for the whole month. I'll make another video at some stage on how I keep that, but then I'll sieve out a week's worth of termites at a time, and I'll put them in a container and I'll keep them in the fridge. And this is just come out of the fridge, so you can see. If it'll focus. It won't really, will it? All the little white things are termites. The rest of the brown, that's just spoil from the nest. That falls through the sieve. It's a sieve that's sort of like it's actually a bait sieve from BCF, but I guess you could use just a box with 6mm aviary wire on the bottom. This brown dirty spoil from the nest will fall through. It actually benefits the fridge and freezing process if you put them in the freezer. If you don't have that, if you sieve them so fine that it's only termites, then you'll find that they'll go mushy. So always, if you're going to keep them in the fridge or freezer, always make sure you got a good amount of that brown spoil around them. It just protects them from freezer burn. And if you keep them in the fridge, you can actually keep them for up to a week. They'll actually go to sleep. And then when you serve them out on the dish and you put them out in the sun, they'll actually wake up and start crawling around again. Obviously, they don't do that when you put them in the freezer. They won't come back to life, but the birds, my birds are in the habit of switching between fresh and frozen termites interchangeably, so they're pretty used to switching in between. So anyway, so these are the termites, and I will usually put enough, about 1 teaspoon per pair of birds, so a big teaspoon, and that goes straight on the dish there too. So it's starting to come together, and then the very next thing is some form of fresh greens. So that could be any of the Chinese cabbages, bok choy, pak choy, any of those, even silver beet. You could have endive lettuce, kale, spinach in smaller amounts. There's a lot. You can do some research on Google. There's lots of bird safe greens. What I'm using today is Lebanese cucumber. Why Lebanese? Well, they just don't eat the continental variety or the green variety. They seem to be fussy buggers and only like the Lebanese cucumber. So I just cut them out to this. I cut it lengthways so it's easier for them to eat, and just bang that on there too. Some baked eggshells on there would usually finish the meal, but I don't have any today, so that's life. So I'll prepare the rest of the dishes, and then I'll feed them out, and then the birds will go bonkers. I hope this has been helpful to some of you, and if you wanted any further information, just leave me a comment and I'll get back to you. All right, happy breeding, guys. Bye.